by far the hardest thing that I had to learn on my journey of going from zero to now making over $45,000 per month is that in order to get to a new level in life, I always, every single time, had to kill a previous version of myself. And this is one of the biggest things that I noticed when I coach young guys. But I've helped over 100 young guys to go from 9 to 5, go from school to making their first dollar online. And every single time, it only happens when someone is willing to kill the old version of themselves. So in this video, I want to talk about how I've actually done that at different levels of my journey, how I've killed the old version of me to move on to the next income level. Going from 1.0, the broke and unsuccessful version of me who was living with my parents in Sweden, struggling with literally 4 different online businesses: affiliate marketing, dropshipping, an agency, and trading as well, to hitting my first $10,000 a month. Couple of months later, leaving my hometown, starting to travel, 2.0 version of me, hitting 10K, 20K, 30K a month. And then recently, how I went from this 2.0 version of myself into the 3.0. That's making, at this point, 40, and I was getting up towards $50,000 and $60,000 per month, and how I'm going to the next level as well, so you can see what the actual path looks like down the road, no matter where you're at right now. Because I learned this like when I was 17, 18 years old. I remember reading a book. I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it was that book, or maybe a 4-Hour Workweek, one of those 2 books that I read. And maybe you read those books as well. I think like a lot of people do read those books in the beginning of their journey. And I remember learning one of these self-improvement books in the beginning, that in order to get to the next level, I have to kill the old version of me, how I used to make decisions, my old surrounding, my old self-talk, my old lack of belief. Like everything that was the old Alex had to die in order for me to become the next version of myself. This took a lot of time for me to understand, because I didn't realize for a long amount of time that, for example, me living with my parents who are still working in 9 to 5s, who have a certain way of viewing the world, a certain income, certain beliefs, that no matter how confident I was and no matter how strong of a belief I had, that was affecting me. They're, I guess, how they speak and how they think and how like old friends and all that stuff, how they speak, influences, no matter how strong and like how good of a mental game you are, that influences you. So every single time that I've gone from this point to this point, and I want to tell you guys about exactly what I did, I had to make massive changes, like massive changes. Same thing here. I want you to see this, because a lot of people I feel like they don't really understand this. They think that you can just get to the next level without really making a lot of changes. And then they fundamentally need to understand that to get change, we also need to fundamentally change who we are, which is one of the hardest things to do as humans. For example, going from here to here, I had to completely let go of everything that I was back in the day. I was someone who was very comfortable, someone who was scared to take risks, someone who was scared to make decisions, someone who was always very analytical. That was all the old version of me. In order for me to get my first $10,000 a month, I had to kill all that. I had to become very decisive. I had to start taking risks. I had to start investing a lot of money into myself, which was very scary for me to do, especially for the old version of me. I had to go against completely my surrounding. I had to leave my hometown. I had to completely change who I was around. All that stuff had to happen to get to this point. And that's the big lesson here, is that if you're right now stuck in your life, if you don't feel like you're where you want to be and you've been trying for a bit and you've been putting in the effort, you probably just you need to make a big change. You need to maybe get out of your hometown or make a big and comfortable decision. Maybe you need to invest a big amount of money into yourself. That's been the stuff that I've been doing. As an example here, first step that I did, I invested basically all the savings that I had into a coaching program to learn from someone who's better than me to start in high-ticket sales. Actually, that before as well, but I've done it so many times throughout my journey. But I invested when I got from running the agency and doing affiliate marketing, these other things, to actually make my first 10K a month. I invested into myself, all my savings, poured that into a program. Started doing that. That's how I started landing my first role in high-ticket sales, which is what I do. Landed my first remote sales role, started making money there. And then the second thing that I did to fully step out of this old version of me was to leave my hometown again. And that was such a key thing, because I didn't realize it at the time, but like the beliefs from my parents and friends and people around me were massively holding me back, like massively keeping me in a scarcity mindset and holding me back when you have friends and family telling you that you shouldn't be working this hard, like who do you think you are, making this amount of money, it's not realistic. Obviously that affects you, So changing that took me to this point. Then I got here. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, I got a bit comfortable. I started making $10,000 a month. I was living in Medellin, Colombia. I could travel. I can do all the things I wanted to be able to do. And especially living out Medellin, Colombia, like at least back then, the cost of living was pretty low. It's gotten a bit higher now with a lot of people going out there, but it's definitely still pretty cheap compared to a lot of other countries. But anyways, I was able to get a good lifestyle. I could travel. I could eat steaks every single day. I could do all the things I wanted to do. So I got a bit comfortable here. And I started kind of like just staying at that point. So I made 10K, 15, 20K, but I didn't really have like a massive income jump for a couple of months when I got to this point. And that's where I got to the next level, where I had to completely just like quit the high ticket sales role that I was in at the time. Because I noticed like I was just comfortable. You know, I got myself into a position where like my life was good. And the people I was around, the place I was staying in, everything was just solid. So I was trying to get to the next level. I was like putting in work, trying to do the inputs to get to the next level. But because all my surroundings weren't optimized to make that happen, I was trying to get into 3.0 while I was just trying to drag 2.0 Alex up here without killing him. And that never works. I had to kill this one to get to this level. And then I realized eventually I had to do the same thing here. I had to change the spot that I was staying in. I moved into a way nicer apartment with just like super nice views and just like level up my way of thinking. Because before I was always like, yeah, I mean, I need to stay in a pretty cheap spot. So I don't, if I lose money, etc., I need to be like hoarding money into my bank account and all this stuff. Moved into a nicer spot that matched the new version of me who was making the money I want to be making. I started investing myself again to get to the next level. I invested, not at this point, not all of my savings because I had quite a big amount of savings at this point, but I invested a big amount that was bigger than I ever done before, over $10,000 into myself to get to the next level, to learn new skills and stack upon the sales skills that I already had, going deeper. And that's how I started building my sales skills into actually learning how to manage, etc. And so it was investing in myself, it was change of environment, and also surrounding myself with new people, putting myself in new rooms with people that I hadn't been around before that definitely challenged me and increased my standards. And then guess what? Because I changed all of my environment and all that stuff, I moved up to this current version of me. I would say right now, the 3.0 version of me. And now I'm in a similar position where I know that, okay, I have goals that I want to get to of making way more than I'm making right now, having a bigger impact, and I have very clear goals that I'm getting to. Right now, I'm in the season of just like inputs with the 3.0 version of myself. But I know that in order to get to these bigger goals that I have, this version of myself will have to be killed as well. That's the journey. It just never stops. Entrepreneurship is a journey of, you will not get to the next level with your current self. Like your current you has to die. So for you watching this right now, no matter where you're at, if you're in the beginning right now, if you're at stage 2, if you're starting making some money online, understand that the current version of you will not get to the next level. So understand that when you're making decisions, if you're always looking at things from the same frame that you're used to doing, how you're comfortable with doing stuff, you're not evolving. You're actually dying. Every single time you make a decision like that you're comfortable with, that feels safe to you, that feels certain, then you are not evolving as much as you could be. Because none of these times when I went from this to this, I went from 0 to 10K a month and making 20K a month to making over 40K a month. None of these times when I made these big decisions of leaving my hometown or investing these big amounts of money or taking action on some new idea that I had, never throughout this journey did that feel certain and confident and 100% is going to work out when I did it. It was always uncertainty. It was always uncomfortable. When I signed up for the new apartment that I had and that was aligned with the new version of myself, super comfortable, was way more rent than I was paying all of a sudden. I wasn't comfortable with that. When I was surrounding myself with new people, I was like super scared. Like, what if these people judge me and these people are way more successful? And I was like, it's uncomfortable with doing it. But that's how you move forward, is by doing stuff that the old version of you is scared to do, that the old version of you is uncertain with, that feels nervous, that feels nerve-wracking, that goes against every single bone in your body. Because again, it's the old version of you. It's the old version of you trying to keep you safe, trying to pull you back. But you need to just completely drop that and kill him to get over to the new one. I hope this makes sense. I know that might sound like harsh, but like this is how the journey works. And when you realize this journey becomes very easy as well. When you're willing to do stuff that feels uncomfortable to the old you, that feels uncertain and scary, you just constantly move forward and up and up and up. And how it looks like, this is my opinion, you have this seasons where you step into a new version of yourself and then you just do inputs. Like you show up and you just like do the work at that point to really stabilize this level. And then when you get to the point where you're consistently hitting those income numbers that you want to be hitting, then it's like, okay, then you have to kill this version, step into new ones. So it's like different stages where you kind of inputs, next level, inputs, next level, inputs, next level. Get the point. So I think most of you guys are probably at this stage or this stage right now. So look at and get very honest with yourself. And like, what are the things that you're most scared to do right now that scares the current version of you? And that's probably the exact things that you need to be doing to get to the next level. Hope this was valuable. And if you have any questions, you may DM on Instagram. If you want my help to get into business model I do, high ticket sales, get placed in a killer role, you can apply for my mentorship below this video. And I'll see you tomorrow, as always, in the next video. Take care. Ciao.